So welcome everyone to this wrap-up of the National Engineering Month Ontario 2015 campaign. Seems pretty hard to believe it's already over, but here we are in April, and we're getting ready to look back on what was a very busy, very successful March. My name is Erica. I'm presenting this information on behalf of my team, Alan and Zoe, as well as the rest of the National Engineering Month Steering Committee. We've got members from OSET, Professional Engineers of Ontario, Engineers Without Borders, and Ontario Society of Professional Engineers. Very much a team effort, this whole thing, and we thank you, the volunteers and event organizers, for being part of making this campaign such a big success. So we're just going to dive in and give you some highlights of what we thought were the best parts about National Engineering Month 2015, and then from there we will give you the opportunity to ask some questions, throw some feedback, some comments in. And I see that Alan has arrived, so he'll be able to handle any questions on the chat. So don't worry about interrupting. Just throw those into the chat box as you think of them. We'll tell you right up front, it looks like we have shattered all of our records for the number of events that we've looked to have. We had 142 outreach events in 2013, just to put this number in perspective. We have now doubled that. We are up to 285, 284, 285 is somewhere where the total is. And in 2014, we were sort of halfway there. We had 187 outreach events, and that was the biggest at the time. So we know that we're reaching a lot of people, which is exactly what we want to do. We want to really raise awareness and get people excited about engineering and engineering technology. We know that back in 2013, with our 142 events, we managed to engage about 25,000 people in person. It went up to 27,000. And as of now, we are still compiling how many people we may have reached through this year's campaign. So I guess implicit in that is a reminder that we do need to get your event scorecards. This is where we get that data. It's very important that we do receive those. So if you haven't put your scorecard in, please go ahead and do so. That said, we do have an idea of what our demographics will be. We suspect it'll be pretty close to last year. This is the 2014 breakdown, where almost half of our audience was grades 1 to 8. Which is great, because that's the time when we can really shape their imaginations, help them understand that this could be a profession, a path that they could follow before they get too caught up in all that teenage self-consciousness and things. That said, we do look at targeting high school students as well as college and university students, make sure we're maintaining the engineering and engineering technology students we already have. To a certain extent, we talk to ourselves and each other. The professional engagement is definitely a piece of National Engineering Month, but our focus by far is toward the public and toward youth, because that's what we want to do during this month. We do have some additional reach statistics that we are still compiling at this time, although we know that our website traffic was way up this year, social media as well, and we do the in-print thing still through magazines like Engineering Dimensions, The Ontario Technologist, and we had the Toronto Star supplement, which I hope you saw. It was at the end of February. It was entitled Engineering Innovations. Lots of cool content there as well, designed to enhance our campaign themes. So really just a record-breaking year as far as the number of events we managed to put on. Here you can see we're still hearing about the progress on the events. So we think that the total is round about the mid-280s. And we definitely consider ourselves a team, a community. We come together from different organizations to make this whole campaign happen. That said, it's kind of neat to look at who's contributing what. So PEO had a very good year. They went up to 57 events total they contributed. OSET at 31, which is fantastic. Engineers Without Borders had a big jump, and I'll explain that a little bit in a minute. And then other organizations as well. So first of all, to unpack that other number, we had OSPE contribute 5 events. Niagara Engineering Week, which is sort of a consortium of different organizations in the Niagara area, came together to put on 5 events as well, which is great. WISE, which is Women in Science and Engineering. We had a couple of engineering societies getting involved, as well as ACTUA camps, which are science and engineering outreach camps. That's actually a national organization, but we're starting to see that the Ontario ones are getting active within our campaign, which we think is just fantastic. So lots of like-minded organizations out there coming under our umbrella and helping us make National Engineering Month bigger and better than ever. So as far as what happened last year to cause that big explosive jump, we have someone within our Engineers Without Borders network who put on a whole bunch of workshops for Grow Guides. You probably have heard Rose Allman's name before. She and her team just deserve an enormous, enormous round of applause Last year they managed to put on 29 workshops. This year it was up to 87, so that's plus 58. So that's a pretty big jump, more than tripling what they did last year. And the Water for the World as well, that's the Engineers Without Borders Toronto professional chapter. They had a very strong showing last year. They were in the 70s, in the 60s somewhere, and they ended up with 78 workshops this year, so up to 15 more than they did last year, which was already pretty impressive where they were last year. So big round of applause to them. PEO chapters as well really stepped it up and ended up putting on 14 more events than they did last year, which is great to see. We feel as though there are more and more chapters that are taking their allowed amount of funding and using it to make more things happen, which we think is a great trend. We really like to see that, taking the same number of dollars and hopefully the same amount of energy and using it to amplify and reach more and more people. OSET as well had a jump, and we'll talk about that. Last year, percentage-wise, every bit as impressive as the other increases, because they went up from 23 to 31 this year. So if you're curious, we have left up the events listings for the time being. You can jump into NEM Ontario/events and have a look at who put on what. We think it's great. This is our logo, our graphics for National Engineering Month. We made an effort to give you lots of good graphic material that you could put that you could use. We thought our posters turned out pretty well this year, so we made social media friendly versions of them as well that you could use in your campaign literature on your websites and things. So again, that's all posted, and it will be posted from now on at nemontario.ca/graphics. So that's a great place to look if you want to have a look at what's available. There's also, we did make available some resources. We had all the essential documents all together. So I know sometimes people were emailing us in previous years and saying, where's the innovation funding application? Where's the, where's the funding application? Where do I get this information? We put it all together in one place, tried to make that really, really helpful and clear. And again, on that same link, Engineering Outreach Resources, we also have participant surveys you can download. There are event checklists that you can use, so that's included in the scorecard, but it's also a standalone document, as well as links to all of the webinars. And by the time we're finished this one at the end of the day, we will also be making sure that we post the link to it as well. So so then we have a link to our newsletter. I think that's worth mentioning. Those of you that are subscribing to our newsletter know that we pull together highlights and specific communications. It's a great way to stay in touch, so you can be in the loop on things that are happening. And yep, I do see your chat messages here, Philip. If you have any questions or anything that you want to say, I think that Alan was not able to see your chat. Maybe he's just sleeping at the moment. Okay, so some of the things that we saw, besides the stuff that we did, some of the things that we saw that you did as event organizers that we thought were just fantastic were, we saw a lot more public-facing events. I mentioned that we do have a certain amount of networking and community building stuff that happens within the engineering and engineering technology chapters within the schools, for example. But more and more we saw that our event organizers are considering new audiences outside of their normal circles, and they're really utilizing those powerful messages in the public eye. So we thought that was a great, great trend to see. We also saw more and more events focusing on up-and-coming themes that are sort of emerging, things that are really relevant to people, top of their minds, maybe in the news or of a special concern to them. I think we all can appreciate the classic appeal of a bridge building exercise. That we've been doing that for the last 20 years. So what else is new? What else is going on that we could be talking about and engaging people in a really new and vital conversation? Climate change, space travel, alternative energy, certainly very big. And there was one of the PEO chapters, I think it was York, did a symposium on public transit during National Engineering Month. So we just love to see these really current events coming up in the public eye and just helping them understand, really drawing the line very definitely between engineering technology and some of the most important things going on in the world right now. Another great theme we observed was that we were emphasizing collaboration and interdisciplinary skills and working together. So as opposed to the maybe default assumption that engineers are sort of off on their own, doing their own thing, kind of tinkering by themselves or crunching numbers and not really having much to do with people. We're really changing that image into something that says that, you know, really engineering technology is about people, it's about working together. We saw this evidenced in one of the events that was held at Ryerson, who was a champion sponsor this year. They put on an event in collaboration with the PEO and OSPE called Engineers Want In. Talked a lot about the different types of collaborations and connections that engineers can make to make their work more effective and more highly recognized in society. Finally, Centennial College put on an event called Multidisciplinary Science for a Better Society, and they had all kinds of speakers from different types of industries and different types of disciplines, highlighting the ways that they contribute to our world and make things better for people. So we continued with our messaging strategy. Hopefully these are old hat to you by this point. You've seen them many, many times, emphasizing especially to youth that there is a place for you in this profession. You know, you'd be welcome to join us, that it's not elite, it's something that's very inclusive and welcoming, and there is a place for you if you want to contribute to shaping the future, because that's what we do. We're about yesterday, today, and tomorrow, you know, solving important problems, helping make life better for people, and really influencing the way that society runs. Creativity and imagination, turning ideas into reality. Again, we're looking to really bust through those stereotypes that say that engineering or engineering technology is sort of all about analytics and everything being sort of logical and dry and technical, but seeing, you know, this is really, it is also about vision and bringing new ideas into the world, and how we really do need lots of different skills, and that it's about making things happen, which is pretty exciting. Health, safety, and happiness, about people, helping people, emphasizing wherever we can why we do what we do, not just the what, making a world of difference. We think it's really important too, especially with OSAT on board as one of our founding partners, that we talk about engineering and engineering technology, and knowing that, especially from the point of view of, say, a grade 9 student or someone who's maybe a little bit younger and they're considering, well, what do I want to do after I graduate? You know, they can go to college, they can become a CET, a certified engineering technologist, or they can go to university and end up becoming a PEng. Either of these paths could be very valid and you know, allows them to make a valuable contribution. At the end of the day, we all want to work on big, important problems. We all want to get that rush that we have from finding a solution to something, and we all work together. So I think that portraying that diversity of options for people, especially young people, is really, really important. So you'll notice that inclusiveness of language that we make we make a lot of an effort to keep that up. A few other sort of themes that have emerged organically from the campaign recently. We know sustainability is a very hot topic. Innovation, and that could be, you know, mean lots of things in the business world, anything from the culture of the way a company runs, being willing to accept failure, being willing to take risks in a measured way that is you know, appropriate for getting to the next level. Learning how to be competitive, how to adapt to the new global market realities. What does that look like as far as Canada's economy, as far as the future? There's really a lot at stake here. It's not just, you know, having fun tinkering around with widgets. It's actually making a vital contribution to the way that we live. Entrepreneurship, again, I often say entrepreneurship is really just about solving problems and getting someone to get someone to pay you for it. Businesses solve problems, engineers solve problems, and how much really, how many parallels there are there as far as engineering, technology, entrepreneurship, and how they're all sort of fueling the progress of our society, as well as teamwork. And we sort of touched on that with the collaborative theme, and being willing to play nicely with others, work with non-engineers, work with engineers of other disciplines, work with technologists and engineers, all different examples of teamwork and how important that is to create solutions that work. So we thought that those were really well highlighted in a lot of really creative ways by the events that you put on this year. We want to give a little shout out to our sponsors as well. Obviously, we could not do what we do without their support, their financial support. We like to give back to our sponsors more than just putting their logos on our t-shirts, but also giving them a part to be an opportunity to be heard within the campaign, to be a part of the campaign. Some of the sponsors, including Dylan, provided volunteers for some of the workshops that we were running, which we thought was a really neat way for them to show how invested they are in our campaign and how they share our goals. The Canadian Society of Civil Engineers was a new sponsor this year. They actually ran some of their own events, so we put those on our listing. We now have this new category of sponsor-run events, which is pretty neat. Obviously, we provided them with some posters, and they provided us with some content. In fact, and this was one of our new team member, Zoe's great contributions to the campaign, was that she worked with our different sponsors to come up with 8 different sponsor-sourced blogs. So these were on our website. You can see the links here. We are going to send out a copy of this presentation, so you can always go back or just jump on nemontario.ca and hit the link to the blog, and you'll see all of these together. We had something called our Innovator of the Week, where we profiled some faces of people who are making things happen in the engineering space, and then you can see some examples of the different themes and stories that our sponsors wanted to tell that we felt were a great fit with our campaign goals as well. So another thing I want to highlight, there's so much stuff to get to here, so many exciting things that happened during this year's campaign. We ran a challenge basically supported by OSET within the National Engineering Month campaign that was aimed at engaging colleges. So we know I mentioned NSOCs earlier. We have pretty good engagement within the university, the engineering programs at universities. We hadn't until last year had any engagement with the colleges and the students that are studying engineering technology programs in the colleges across Ontario. So we set out to fix that. We said, okay, students, engineering technology students, if you're enrolled at a college, come on out, organize your own NEM event. We'll help you do it. We will pair you with your local OSET chapter. So we're getting the chapters involved as well. And we had a pretty good turnout last year. This year we had an even better turnout. There were 17 different events put on by 9 teams representing 7 different colleges in a good sort of geographical cross-section across Ontario. So we had Centennial in Scarborough, Conestoga in Kitchener-Waterloo, Confederation up in Thunder Bay, George Brown in downtown Toronto, Loyalist College in Belleville, Seneca also in Toronto, and Sheridan out in Brampton. Actually, I think they have a few campuses around the GTA. And to sweeten their incentive, sweeten the pot a little bit, we put a cash prize and a 1-year student OSET membership at stake and said, go ahead, put on an event. We set up some criteria. We recruited judges. It was a great, great experiment. And this year, we were able to give first place ranking to the team at Centennial. So here they are, fabulous group of young people that really put a lot of work into their event. It was a 1-day extravaganza they called Multidisciplinary Science for a Better Society. They held it on campus at Centennial College, and they also did an event to promote their event at the mall in Scarborough there the weekend before. So they had a booth out in a public space, and then they held their event. It was sort of a large-scale, kind of a TED Talk sort of a thing with various speakers from various disciplines, industries of engineering and engineering technology, talking about what they were doing and highlighting its impact on society. And they also had a lot of employers. They had different technology demonstrations. They just had so much going on. It was really a well-done, really a well-done event. And one of their student organizers gave a speech called Engineering Community, and we thought we'd share just a little slice of that. Really did a great job of putting a human face on the people that make engineering and engineering technology happen. So she talked about these people as being very curious, who love to see a solution, whether they love working with a computer or doing something with their hands. Speaking about their love for an elegance of a piece of code, so touching on many different disciplines, but really pulling those people together in their common thread of what they really like to do is look and see that they've had a tangible impact on what they're doing. So just great storytelling and understanding that we're serving humanity, and you know, I can't tell you exactly why each person does what they do, but that's a great place to start in conversation with them. There's just a little slice of the type of conversation that they were putting together. Over at Centennial, so very well done to them. They came ranked first. That said, we really think that all of the events were really well done, and you can see by the numbers that we achieved our goal of increasing OSET's participation in National Engineering Month. Before that, OSET had been around the sort of 10 event level, 10 chapters, 10 events per year in the National Engineering Month 2012 and 2013 campaigns before we started the challenge. We put the challenge together, and that actually brought about 12 events. This year, as I said, it was 17 plus 14 regular OSET run events for a total of 31. So they've just done an amazing job of upping their participation in National Engineering Month. And I'm going to go backwards just for a quick second here to point out that you can read about all of the different events. There was something that absolutely every single one of the teams did well at this link here, nemontario.ca College Challenge 2015, with some dashes in the middle there. So I encourage you to check those out. These young people really impressed us this year. Everybody did a great job, but the speed at which they picked things up and the initiative that they had was really impressive. So another way that you can find out about some of the events that went on around the province is to have a look at NEM Newsroom 2015. If you just Google that, you'll see all of our stuff comes up here. We're doing very well as search engine optimization. And we actually, each one of these articles that we posted, these recap articles that we posted on our website, has between 5 and 10 write-ups that we found online. And this means that event organizers are actually reaching out in their community. They're gaining comfort with reaching out to local media. So this is a huge step forward for all of you. Thank you to those who did take the time to get a media person at your event. It's not a lot of extra work to magnify the impact of what it is that you're putting on. We really want to see that, you know, we're moving away from this idea of everybody gets in a room and we close the doors and then the event happens and then nobody knows about it except for the people who are in the room. We want to see, you know, amplifying the event impact, as we say, through things like this, reaching out to local media, using the social media tools as well, and really telling the story of what it is that you talked about. It really makes everything go further. So speaking of online engagement, we are still compiling our statistics, but we have a really big increase in traffic over the 2014 campaign. We track hits from the beginning of January to the end of March. So we're still looking at what the last week of April will hold for us. Also, if you look at hashtag NEM 2015, that saw a huge jump in participation over last year. So our own Twitter followers, that went up. We put together an online event, which we thought was an exciting experiment. It wasn't the hugest event ever, but it was cool in that we've now opened up a new space virtually for people to get together and talk about things. So if you look, you know, if you just jump on Twitter, you don't even need to log in. You can just look at hashtag EngCulture. You can see we're having a conversation about the things that matter to engineers and engineering technologists, and you know, some of those themes and some of those values that sort of bring us together. Even though we work in different disciplines or we work for different companies, there are certain things we have in common, and those are really interesting and good conversations to have. So we found a couple of other hashtags because they're just so much fun. If you look at hashtag Iron Ring, you'll see that when the university students are graduating from their engineering programs, they get their engineering ring in their super secret ceremony, and you'll see so many awesome pictures of people smiling and holding up their pinky ring. And the colleges also have a technology ring that they give out as well. Or sorry, the OSET gives out that ring when they get certified. It's a little bit different, but the ring, it looks quite similar. It's got some maple leaves on it as well. Engineering selfie was a neat one too. Again, putting a human face on the work that engineers are doing. We'd love to see more of that happening next year. Hashtag EngTech, so that's engineering technology, having that community be able to come together and facilitate a conversation about the things that are important to them. Very powerful community building tools. So encourage you to just dip your toe into the pool of Twitter if you haven't looked already, and check out these hashtags and see who you can talk to, because they're really a neat portal into some different communities. We saw more posts from chapters across the board, again, OSET, PEO, EWB chapters, other members, as well as different sort of people in the online engineering community. Engineers Canada was very active. We saw some past PEO presidents and OSET presidents getting on there. There's really lots of people that you can reach out to. Our Facebook page grew. We had 635 likes when I checked it today, up from 439 last year. We continued our Instagram campaign as well, and we created a LinkedIn group because we thought that was a good opportunity to interface with some of the professionals. You know, a lot of us are online on LinkedIn anyway for our professional work, our sort of professional development. So we thought that would be a good way to bring people together and get chatting about things. So again, here's the sort of overview. If you're not following us or if you haven't seen some of these platforms, definitely encourage you to check us out. Again, Facebook, Twitter, those are our two main ones. Instagram, we've started to move that along. It's a platform that's quite popular with young people, more so than us more seasoned folks, but we're making an effort to reach out there as well. And LinkedIn, as I mentioned, that's our professional engagement platform there. So here's just a sample of some of the things that came around. Oh yeah, and Alan has shared the LinkedIn group there. That's great. Some of the things that came around on NEM 2015. So you can see here we've got a photo of Rose presenting to some brownies here. We've got one of our Innovators of the Week, which is an engineering student named Diana who started her own business. We've got here something from Confederation College saying, oh, we're sad to be taking our posters down from our event because it was so much fun. There are just a bunch of different people, different voices here coming together, talking about things that are happening during National Engineering Month. So a neat place to be. Another highlight that we felt was that we saw scorecards and surveys being used very consistently by event organizers. So thank you again for doing that. We know that the first year we introduced the scorecards, people had lots of questions. Some of them had some issues filling them out, but this year it felt like it went a lot smoother, and we're getting scorecards filled out and back to us very, very promptly, which we really, really appreciate. We appreciate you using it to reflect. As you can see, this particular event organizer has taken the time to write us some notes and give us some feedback, which is always helpful for us. We do require the scorecards, of course, as part of your obligation to demonstrate that you run your event so that we can send you back your the second half of your funding. But we don't necessarily require the surveys. But nonetheless, we are really grateful when you take the time to use the surveys because we think it's really important to check that what you're doing is having the intended effect. I think sometimes we prepare an event, we have a certain intention in mind, but we might not know that, you know, we have certain background information or we're making certain assumptions about our audience that might not actually hold true. So we want to make sure that we're checking in with our audience. We're being truly good designers in checking in with our users, making sure that the message that we wanted to deliver, the experience we wanted them to have, is truly what they're doing. Is it working? And how can we do better? You know, even when things go well, we can always find ways to do things better. Just a few comments on National Engineering Month merchandise this year. We were really happy with the way the T-shirts turned out. We hope that you'll enjoy those T-shirts and wear them to the gym, wear them to soccer practice, wear them proudly out and about after National Engineering Month is over. This is the first time as well this year that we pulled together some National Engineering Month Ontario merchandise ourselves. This was in part in response to the fact that our official souvenir that we get from Engineers Canada, they were not able to deliver us the full quantity. So again, this is sort of I guess an advisory and an apology for people who ordered more of the official National Engineering Month headphone than we were able to deliver. We gave you what we could. We tried to divvy it up fairly, and then we tried to fill in where we could with either sponsored donated merchandise. We had some nice pens, some water bottles, some tote bags, some bookmarks that sponsors had donated, as well as the National Engineering Month Ontario merchandise. So we had the highlighters, as well as those nice green recycled pens. So they were originally made from water bottles, and now they're pens, which is kind of neat. And a note on T-shirts as well. Because we knew we were going to have a ton of events, we knew we needed to be very careful how many T-shirts we could allocate to each chapter and each event organizer. We did put a cap on the number that we can subsidize this year, and it was the first time we'd done that. We feel overall that that was a success, even though we know some people were disappointed not to be able to order the full amount of T-shirts that they were used to at that subsidized price. We do feel that those T-shirts can be used, and they can kind of visually tie the event together without giving out hundreds and hundreds of them to every person, because sometimes what we'd seen in previous years was that the T-shirts would come back to us, they wouldn't fully get used, or sometimes they would get sort of repurposed and cut up and things like that. We don't want to see that happening. We need to use our campaign finances carefully, especially as we grow. We want to continue to make this thing sustainable with the dollars that we do have. So thank you for your understanding on that. We're going to be evaluating the 15 shirt per event cap on that subsidized rate going into next year, so we definitely welcome your feedback. Our theme this year, again, was Make a World of Difference. We have received an indication that that may be changing next year, which would be kind of exciting. And again, your thoughts are welcome on this, whether you liked the theme, whether you found it relevant and inspiring and something that you could really build into your event, or whether it didn't matter too much to you. Especially if the case is the latter, then what would you prefer instead? How could we suggest something maybe that would work better as far as a theme? So here's the last thing I want to throw at you before I open it up to questions. Important dates for National Engineering Month 2016. I guess we've got one more order of business, which is for everyone to submit their completed event scorecards for the 2015 events. Please no later than June 15th. You can do it even sooner than that. That is even better because it does take us a little bit of time to get the checks in front of the proper signing authorities, get them all packaged up with stamps in the mail, and then get them mailed to you. Obviously, there is a little bit of a delay for that, so please get your scorecards in as soon as possible. We're really looking forward to crunching up all the numbers and turning around those final totals in our record of accomplishment, which we will have ready over the summer. Then, looking ahead to 2016, we are starting to talk about National Engineering Month 2016 already, even though it feels like we just finished off with this year's campaign. We will have your application forms ready as of September 2015. You can check NEM Ontario. Also, if you monitor any of our social media channels, we will be sending out advisories there as well. Just to note, many of you have some planning that goes on within your organization, within your chapters over the summer in the sort of June, July timeframe. So please be aware of that. Do plan on National Engineering Month next year. We look forward to working with you again on next year's campaign. And a bit of a heads up, funding applications are going to be due a little sooner because we found that we did need a bit more time this year. So November 13th is going to be the deadline. That's a Friday the 13th, so mark that on your calendars and in your mind. As last year, we'll be getting back to you with funding decisions in December and January. The first round of checks will be distributed in January. And just as soon as we can turn it around, we generally have sponsors signing up up until pretty much the end of January, and then we have a couple of days, maybe a week and a half, to turn around the posters and the T-shirts and pack up all the merchandise that we get from our sponsors and from our suppliers, and put it in boxes and get it out, shipped to you. We aim to get it to you by the end of February, so you'll have lots of time to get it ready. So that's pretty much what it looks like. On behalf of my team, you can see our friendly faces here at the bottom. I'm Erica, there's Alan and Zoe. We really enjoyed working with you this year. It was a hectic, crazy experience, and we're eager to know how it was for you. We saw it from our side, obviously. We've got the broader picture of what went on in the campaign. We're happy that you're interested enough to join us today or to watch this video on the replay, and we'd love to hear your feedback. So I'm going to open it up for questions and comments right now. Thank you so much.